My lord, dinner is served. No, my lord. Please, don't do this. Please, let me go. It was a cool, windy day in the village of Villafames in the province of Castellon, Spain. Carlos del Caldo, a merchant, and his two children, Luciana and Benicio, had come to collect honey from the forest. Tying their horse cart by the outskirts of the woods, the three set off in search. Within a while of walking, Benicio spotted a bee's nest abundant with dripping honeycomb. "Father, up there!" Luciana stood by the bottom of the tree, ready to catch the combs in her basket as her father climbed up to cut them off. But as Carlos reached the nest, he was suddenly startled by the sound of a low grunt. He was frightened to see a bear approaching Luciana as she pulled her brother behind her. "Stay still, don't move." Carlos immediately jumped down from the tree. He landed in front of the bear, shielding his children. However, he had been severely injured. Limping on his leg, he took out his knife and stared at the bear. But he was unable to move. Benicio froze as Luciana tried to get closer to one of the broken branches. But just as the bear charged towards their father, they heard footsteps rushing forth through the forest grounds. A young man ran at the bear with a sword tight in his fist. Benicio and Luciana stood there in shock as the bear ran away in fright. They rushed to their father as the young man tried to help him up. "I think you've dislocated your leg. My cabin is just a distance away. I can help you." "Thank you, but what is your name?" "Javier." With Javier's help, Carlos walked to the cabin as Luciana and Benicio followed after them. Did you see how he scared the bear? But where did he come from? When they reached the cabin, Carlos noticed a white horse tied outside. "Wow, is this your horse?" Carlos ushered his son to remain silent as they stepped inside. There was nothing more than a cot, a stool, and a few utensils and hunting tools. As Carlos sat on the cot, Javier gave his leg a firm push and straightened his joints. "Looks like you've broken your leg." Gathering a few branches and a piece of cloth, Javier made a cast around Carlos's leg. "Do you live here all by yourself? In the middle of these forests? We're far from town. Isn't this Lord Salvador's land?" "I work for Lord Salvador. I'm a soldier. He's ordered me to keep guard over these regions." "Do you know anything about the young woman who was recently found dead in the palace? She was from our village." "Yes, I've heard. It was an accident. She fell from the balcony. But I've heard many different rumors in our village. They say it was Lord Salvador's son who took advantage of her and ended her life. The young woman's father then complained to the king, who sent his men in search for his son, but he's been missing." Javier nodded, listening to Carlos, but he didn't say anything. From a small pot in the room, he brought out a loaf of bread and some wine. "Soak the bread in the wine and have it. It will help reduce the pain." Javier turned to his daughter. "Luciana, bring some of the honey we've collected." Luciana took out a chunk from the basket and gave it to Javier. He looked at it and took a bite. "I'm tasting real food after a long time. Out here in the forest, I don't have any arrangement apart from what I'm able to hunt. Some days I make a good catch and some days I don't. Thank you." "No, thank you for helping us." After some moments of rest, Carlos attempted to get back on his feet. "There isn't long till sunset. We should get home." "How will you go? You should take my horse." "No, that will be all right. We have our own cart. We left it by the outskirts. It's not far from here. But it will be difficult for you to walk. I'll take you there on my horse." After leading the family out of the forest, Javier bid them farewell and returned to his cabin. Carlos stared at the young man from afar. We should be more careful. We won't be coming to this side to collect honey anymore. There are bears here, and a worse enemy. He's here. What do you mean, father? He saved our lives. Have you not realized who he was? None but the members of the royal family ride a horse like his. He was lying. He's not a soldier. He was the prince of the palace. He's probably the one who took the life of that young woman. And now Lord Salvador is hiding him out here. Luciana and Benicio fell quiet upon seeing how serious their father was. But Luciana didn't quite agree with him. The next day around afternoon, while her father was out in the market, Luciana caught a chicken from the farm and prepared it for cooking. She roasted it, baked a pumpkin pie, and arranged a small pot of honey. Wow, that smells good. Benicio was about to have a taste when Luciana slapped his hand away. No, this isn't for you. You're gonna eat it alone? No, it's for Javier. Didn't you hear him? He hasn't had good food in a long time. But father said we wouldn't go there anymore. Benicio, if he was that bad, he wouldn't have saved us. Father was injured. He could have done anything to me, and you wouldn't have been able to do anything either. But he treated us nicely when we were helpless. You're right, but what about the bears? If a bear comes in the way, he's there to save us. Now here. Luciana tore a small piece of the chicken and fed her brother before she packed the food in a basket. Let's go. We have to be back before father gets home. Walking the entire distance there, Luciana and Benicio reached the cabin late in the afternoon. You're here? Is your father all right? He's doing well. Luciana was feeling bad he didn't have food. Luciana gave her brother a look as she sneakily stepped on his feet. Benicio. She awkwardly chuckled at Javier. It's not like that. We just wanted to thank you for all that you did for us. Javier laughed. It was nothing. He invited the two inside and offered to have lunch together. After which, Benicio rushed to see his horse again. You have a nice horse. You want to ride it? Really? Javier helped Benicio up as he loosened the reins from the cabin. Don't go too far, Luciana yelled. Don't worry, I trust my horse. He'll bring him back to us. While the two waited for Benicio, they sat in the cabin and got talking about this and that. Javier was a skilled swordsman, while Luciana, she knew how to do a ton of things from cooking to sewing to caring for animals. It was just before sunset that Luciana and Benicio finally returned home that day. But in the following days, as soon as their father would leave, Luciana would make excuses to visit Javier again, and so would Benicio. Cooking again? It's for Javier. Yeah, we should thank him for letting me ride his horse. Wow, did you make this yourself? This is so delicious. What are you making this time? Roasted lamb. We should thank him for complimenting my cooking yesterday. Before long, through these secret meetings, Benicio loved spending time with Javier. He taught him how to ride his horse and to use his sword, while at the same time did a little romance and a lot of love blossom between Javier and Luciana. Luciana, look what I brought for you. Pears? There's nothing in these forests and you still managed to surprise me. Where did you find this? Far out on the north side. There was a single tree there on the hill. I had to climb. Oh, pears. I love pears. Thanks, Javier. As time passed, Javier and Luciana's relationship progressed, and they were in love with each other. But it was one day that someone had caught sight of this affair. As Luciana and Benicio was leaving one afternoon, they were a bit shocked to see the Marquis, Lord Salvador, and his guards outside Javier's cabin. They quickly slipped away as Lord Salvador got off his horse. My lord. Who are those people? They're from the village. They bring me food. Lord Salvador stepped into Javier's cabin. It was neat and tidy, hot food on the table. Does she only bring you food, or is there something more going on? No. How is everyone in the palace? How is Dante? Everyone's doing well, missing you. I had come to see how you're doing, and it seems like you're having a delight. Lord Salvador stepped out again, stopping by Javier's horse. Take his horse. But father, how will I travel here without my horse? Since there are people visiting you, it's not safe to keep the royal horse here. As Lord Salvador and his men left, Javier sat inside, now truly feeling stranded. The only thing he waited for was to see Luciana again. However, the following day, she didn't come, nor did Benicio. When 3 days passed, Javier felt concerned. Had something happened? But without his horse, there was no way he could know now. It was on the 4th morning that Javier heard the sound of a horse gallop towards the cabin. He hurried out to see it was Benicio. Javier, Luciana is getting married. What? The morning after we left, Lord Salvador's royal guard summoned us to the palace. My father, Luciana, and I were taken there by carriage and escorted inside where we met Lord Salvador. He offered our father Luciana's marriage, but my father had refused. It was then that Lord Salvador had offered him land and livestock in return for her hand. And he agreed. We were ordered to stay at the palace until the marriage. Luciana has been crying. She doesn't want to get married. I made an excuse to return home and came to see you. You have to do something. The marriage is this evening. Javier was confused and shocked upon what he heard. But marriage with who? With his son. Luciana was ordered to prepare herself for the marriage before she was taken to one of the upper rooms of the palace. As she neared the door, she started to hear a strange noise. But before she could ask anything, she was pushed inside, and the doors were closed behind her. Luciana fell to the floor, but as she got up, she stared at a huge, vicious man, bound by chains. "Who are you? Stay away from me!" She turned around, banging on the door, only inches away from the man, when she heard a familiar voice behind them. Don't even think about it. Dante turned around, seeing Javier enter through his balcony. You? Javier pushed Dante to the ground and grabbed Luciana's hand as they ran out to the balcony and lowered down their ropes. But as Dante yelled profusely, trying to break free from his chains, Lord Salvador rushed in, hearing the commotion. He was thundered when he saw Javier trying to elope with Luciana. "Matias, how dare you? I brought you up like my own son. How can you be so ungrateful?" "Father, did you only raise me like your son so you could sacrifice me at the right moment?" "No, my lord. Please, don't do this. Please, let me go." That dark night in the palace, it was none other than Lord Salvador's son, Dante, who had taken advantage of one of the servants and took her life. "Dante, what have you done? This is inhumane!" Despite how atrocious the act was, Lord Salvador knew he couldn't let this be known. "Matias, you know Dante is my only son, and he's not sane. See how painful his life is. And now if the news reaches the king, he won't let him go. His life will become unbearable. Matias, take the blame on yourself." After the death of Salvador's elder brother, the father of Matias, his uncle, Lord Salvador, had taken responsibility of him and raised him. Not being able to deny or repay the favor his uncle did to him, Matias agreed. "Yes, father, as you wish." "Don't worry, I've made arrangements for you. There's a small cabin in the west side of the forest. Not a lot of people go there. You can stay there in hiding for a few months, and once everything has settled down in the village, you can return with a new identity." But after all that happened, Matias realized he owed nothing to someone so wicked. If it was my life, I would have gave it in a breath, but you demanded the life of my love to satisfy the lust of your wretched son, but not this time." As Mateus and Luciana climbed down the balcony from their ropes, Lord Salvador turned to look at his son struggling in his chains. "I want her. I want her. Dante, I'll get you a girl better than her. I'll get you more girls." But Dante furiously approached him. "I want her. I want her." Click on the subscribe button and check out more awesome videos on our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon because you know it's interesting.